Okay, we're going to open the July 24th, 2017 meeting for the Board of Selectmen at 6:31. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we don't have any resident comments. So we have the warrants. I'll read those again. Motion to approve payroll warrant number 18-03 in the amount of $215,012.01. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion to approve deduction warrant number 18-01B in the amount of $38,259.57. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Second, and any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Unanimous. Motion to approve bill warrant number 18-03 in the amount of $1,171,551.11. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion. Denise, can you outline what that is?
Yep, so 540,000 was water and sewer, with 500,000 of that being for the Main Street project. 350,000 was from the light department, 120,000 was our liability, property, and workers' comp insurance, and that leaves about 160,000 of just regular town bills.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Okay. We don't have any appointments tonight, so we have discussions and possible vote. Sam is not here.
Yeah, I just texted him, so I
All
don't know
right.
if you want to jump to the second item while we wait for him to come in.
Sure, we have Board of Selectmen representative to the Community Preservation Committee.
So this was a position previously held by Selectman McDonald. As you know, there are certain committees that make up the Community Preservation Committee, and now the Selectman seat is vacant.
Okay. Is anybody interested in taking that position?
I'm interested.
Lisa, okay. Do we have to vote on that? Yes,
Yes.
okay.
Because
Is
it's
then-
technically an appointment.
Right. Ed, are you interested in that?
No, didn't Lisa just say she was?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Kelly, you're-
I'll nominate her, nominate Lisa for Selectmen's representative to the Community Preservation Committee.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Good. That's easy. And Sam is here. Sam, how about you update us on the Board of Zoning Bylaw Review Committee's progress?
Evening. The committee asked me to come in and speak to the board, just to give you an update. Prior to the board voting to support us at town meeting on the zoning changes, one of the promises our committee made was to continue working towards bringing all those changes forward into that base document. So initially, we were hoping to have something for fall town meeting. We would have something ready, but at this point, it doesn't look like we're going to have a need for it. If we were to have something, we'd need to know now, which, again.
There's not going to be a
looking
need
like
for it because there won't be a town meeting in the fall, you think?
Right, right. So for us to get it in the schedule, to have hearings and do all the things that we need to do procedurally to get it on town meeting at this point, with no indication that we'd be heading towards one, we're just pushing everything off to the annual, which we feel is a better place for it anyway, as we get more of a regular turnout rather than a fall town meeting where it tends to be a special article. But we've set out to do 4 items. 2 were pieces Mitch Croner had asked us, and a couple of other vocal residents had brought up, accessory apartments and customary home occupations. We're currently working on those. We have 2 items done, which would be the revision of definitions. Part of that is to eliminate any words that we don't use in the document, or words where we might need definitions. Better define those for clarity, and then also to bring some consistency between the building code and the zoning bylaw. So we have that done. We have the customary home occupation piece just about there. We think at the next meeting, we'll finalize that. And then it comes down to accessory apartments, and there's some confusion on, I shouldn't say confusion. There's a lack of clarity in our current bylaw as to what is a buildable lot and the way the language is read and the way it's being interpreted. So we're working on that as well. But, you know, we're doing very well, working together, planning, zoning, myself. Mitch has been in as a citizen representative, trying to give us some input from what he hears on Facebook and around town, and so far, so good. But we felt it was worth an update to the Board of Selectmen to just let you know that, yes, we're still chugging along, and we're making some good progress.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Sam? Yep.
Sam, when I went to the informational meeting that they had, the first one, there was a lot of questions on the in-law apartments.
Yes.
What have they done about that? I know that some of the, there were several questions, and one was, it didn't seem to make sense to some people that if you applied for an in-law apartment and it was granted, it was just a one-time thing, and if they sold the house, that didn't go along with it. Was there any movement towards getting rid of that provision? And the second question, only two. Or do you want to do that one first?
Yeah, let me answer that one. So we're trying to figure out what the town would like to do with this. And one of the pieces that we'd like to see is for the attached units to eliminate some of the process. If you have a unit that complies with what zoning would allow, why would we send you to the zoning board to spend hundreds of dollars to come up with, you know, what zoning would allow by right? That should be for special circumstances where you can't fit, you know, the square
Setback
peg
or
round
something like
hole
that,
type of
yeah.
thing. So we're trying to make that a little simpler. We're trying to look at other communities and the way they deal with affordable units. It's turning out that may be cost prohibitive for the owner to transfer that from an in-law to a affordable housing unit. But, so we're trying to figure out a good way to do it that would benefit the town, benefit the owners, and create some nice housing stock within the town. So it is something we're kicking around, and like anything, there's you know, oodles of ways that these towns deal with it, and we're trying to figure out, you know, what's the best way for Groveland. The other aspect that Mitch is bringing in is the use of accessory buildings above a garage, having detached apartments. You know, and it's very mixed as far as if or how we want to go about that. So that one's still on the, we're still writing that one, trying to figure out how we want to address each piece. It's fairly complicated because not allowing a rental unit as of right, we feel definitely is a detriment to someone that comes in and spends a lot of money on that building to upgrade it, and then to have them remove it. You know, at least I feel that way. There's some on the board that feel that, you know, it's fine. So we're arguing it out at this point. So I don't have a definite yes or no, but we're taking other communities' bylaws and reaching out to them and seeing, you know, what's working, what's not, so that we can get something that hopefully will work well for us.
That was one of the things where, once it's a one-time approval. But just a follow-up question on what you mentioned. Are you looking at a possibility of allowing it in certain areas and not in others? What I'm getting at is, obviously, that part of the town that's on the town sewer system might be more advantageous because it wouldn't be taxing a private septic tank, where perhaps when the house was built, it was approved for so many bedrooms, and this is adding one that's beyond that. They're looking at something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, right now, pretty much everything's on the table. We're just throwing all good ideas in the hat and sort of eliminating things that we think are a definite no-go. You know, the stuff that we absolutely want, we're putting in another bin, and then we're sort of fighting in the middle as to, you know, how we want to approach this. Part of that is writing a document, hashing it out, and then bringing it out to some residents and see, you know, what the general consensus is. Is it something they'd want, wouldn't want? Again, that'd be through public hearing and then adjusting it. Obviously, we don't want to get to town meeting and have a failing article, but we want to be cautious as well as to what we do, because we've seen some people get burnt on some of the things they've done with these. So trying to just go with a slow and steady and hopefully get something that's well thought out and benefits the town and the citizenry.
Okay, that answered the second question also. Thank you.
Excellent.
Anybody else? No? Lisa? No? Okay, quick and easy.
Like you guys got a good short meeting. I think it's happy birthday.
Yes, I am 18, thank you. All right, moving on, we have Bagnell PTA request to add playground stencils to the pavement behind the school. Everybody get a chance to look at that map that was sent out as the part of the documentation? So basically what they want to do is be able to paint some hopscotch and basketball court keys out behind the school on some of the paved areas. I did talk to Dr. Mulqueen to see if he had any issues with it. His only concern was that they use the appropriate type of paint, which is approved for schools and children. So Karen LaBelle is part of the PTA, if you're watching. I think Greg Haddon and Lisa Stevens has the information on what kind of paint needs to be used if it's approved by the board. And if I get that information from Dr. Mulqueen, I can certainly forward that on, but I don't particularly have any problem with it. I think it's good to expand the play area for the kids. Anybody have any issues or concerns with it? Lisa, start with you.
No.
No? Ed?
No.
Bill? All right, so I think as long as they use the appropriate type of paint, and someone want to make a motion to approve their stencil request?
I'll make a motion to approve their stencil request behind the Bagnell School playground. And basically, if they use the right paints and no hazardous to the children.
Yeah, I think if they use the appropriate
Paints, yeah.
materials and paints, that'll be sufficient. Is that clear enough? Okay. Can we get a second?
I second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Easy again. We have votes of the board, minutes from June 26, 2017. Everybody get a chance to review those?
They look to be in order. I'll move for passage.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Moving on to old business. Ed, to start with you, anything for old business?
No.
Lisa?
So I'm not sure whether this goes under old business or under selectmen's time, but I just wanted to follow up to the call that I had made regarding open meeting, just provide some information,
Mm-hmm.
so you can tell me where it best
That's
goes.
fine, go ahead.
Okay. So I ended up speaking with Jonathan Sklarczyk from the Assistant Attorney, who is the Assistant Attorney General and the Director of the Division of Open Government. So open meeting issues are no longer handled by Essex County, they're now handled under the Mass Attorney General's office. And what he said was that with regard to open meeting, particularly related to discussing contracts and collective bargaining, he said it's not impermissible to speak one-on-one with somebody, but the challenge of that is that if that person, for instance, we'll use the example of Bob Lay,
Mm-hmm.
the fire chief. If he were to speak to multiple members of the Board of Selectmen, and any of those conversations were to get conveyed to other members, that would be a violation of the open meeting law. So the feeling was, or the sort of I don't know if recommendation was, he said you can avoid that by having it in executive session or open meeting, then you don't have to worry about violating the open meeting law. But there's not a hard and fast rule.
I think that wasn't that requested for a time for next executive session?
Yeah, but I was
Yes.
just
Okay.
following up on what my concern was the last
Mm-hmm.
time. And then, secondly, he said with regard to kind of members of the Board of Selectmen acting outside of the meeting, whether that's a violation of the open meeting law, He said that's set, each town usually has their own bylaws about that. But I just wanted to share this document that, and this is from the Guide to Financial Management for Town Officials, which is put out by Department of Revenue. So I think it just, maybe it's a future agenda item, just to talk about what that looks like, as opposed to hashing it out now, but people can kind of look at it. I just highlighted the part that kind of directs kind of the roles of Board of Selectmen members.
And to my knowledge, there is no bylaw in Groveland specific to this matter.
Well, I looked everywhere and I couldn't find anything, so that's what I thought, yeah. So.
Do you want me to read this section?
You don't need to. I just think that, I guess my request would be, after people have had a chance to look at it, and maybe Bill O'Neill as well, if we could maybe talk about as a board what that, how we interpret that, and come up with some consensus about how we interpret it, so that we're all in agreement about what it means.
Yeah, we can add that to I don't foresee this being a long agenda item. I think, what this says is precisely what, as far as I know, what we all do anyways, but, to get it out and make sure it's public, that's perfectly fine. So, either for the next meeting, we can add it, or the following meeting, certainly.
Yeah, I think Bill O'Neill is gonna be away the entire 2 weeks, so I don't know if he'll have a chance to review it before the next meeting. So maybe the meeting after, if it's something that he should look into first.
Okay.
He told me he was away for 2 full weeks.
Yep, that's fine. Anything else, Lisa?
No, that's it.
Okay. You mind if I go before you? So I have a couple of things. So doing a little bit of research, well, actually Denise did most of the research, with the information from the last meeting regarding some of the projects behind Bagnell Field. We got a quote for the fence line back by the wooded area, and that came in, did you say it was 9,500 or something like that, for chain link? There was a couple different options.
No, it was less than that. To be honest, I really wasn't aware you were gonna talk about it. I didn't have
Okay,
it
so,
tonight.
yeah, so there
It
was,
was less than that. It was, I wanna say 7,000 or 8,000, I think the back.
I don't know. It was, anyways, it was under the contracting amount.
Yes.
So I have 9,500, maybe it was less. But I know that there was lesser options. And then the paving was about 15 or so
The
for that
paving was-
area.
Yes, the paving was gonna be about 11,000 to do, if you actually look at, so if you're standing on the side of Bagnell, by the cafeteria, looking at the wood line, and there's that whole dirt area. The very front section, there's a fire hydrant at the front to like the transformer.
Mhm.
There's about 6 feet that's already paved, I think it was just excess pavement. If you take that and either go all the way back, or do sort of the front row all the way, I think it was 11,000 square feet, if I remember correctly. That would be approximately 11,000, and then there would be some extras with grinding and so forth. So Bob had said that for about 15,000, we could do a good portion of that parking lot. So to stay within the 15,000 that was discussed at the prior meeting, that would cover some of that paved. It wouldn't do the entire section. But
Right.
It would cover a good section of that sidewalk.
And then taking those two into account, that would leave about 5,000 left to put into a maintenance fund for the grounds, either the whole backyard or maybe something with the circle in the front to make that look presentable, at least for a starting maintenance fund for the school's grounds. And then we can have different options for continuing that funding every year, that we can kind of add to an agenda item later. So I don't know if the board wants to vote on this, or put a different agenda item to vote next time. I don't know what the best way.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a vote now on
Okay.
old business, and like I said, I don't have the exact numbers.
Yeah.
So if you'd like it on the next, I will just say, I got a quote, one quote so far on maintenance on the lawn in the back,
Mhm.
on the new field. It's about $4,300 a year. That counts like 4 fertilizations, crabgrass treatment, 1 additional seeding a year if necessary. If the seeding's not necessary, it's only $2,300. So, and that's pretty much the same maintenance routine that we have on the pines in the town hall. So I I do have some prices on that. I have to get, with Greg Hadden to update the IPM.
Mm-hmm.
Now that our network issues are resolved, I can focus on that again.
Okay,
So,
so if we
I'll
can add
talk
that
to them.
to a short agenda item, at least so the board can either vote on that type of outline or present another outline that the board can vote on as a whole, so we can get that kind of taken care of and moving forward to make sure that those projects are at least on schedule for, you know, one before school starts and one maybe somewhere after school starts, at least for the fencing anyways.
Sure.
The other thing is we were going to update the board on the meetings we had at the Capitol with Senator Tarr and Rep. Mira. The first meeting was about options for funding for the senior center. Bill, did you want to
Yeah, I mean,
make a couple points on that? I know you wanted to
Yeah,
take point on that.
basically, when we went there, we met, he had a bunch of people meet with us, we met with them. The town of Groveland, their, income, our income capita is a little bit high, so we're not eligible for any kind of grants. So what they explained to us was that we can get low-interest loans, from the USDA was one of them. Denise works with some people as well, but it would be a situation where we'd probably end up using a low-interest loan. It could be 20 years, it could be 30 years, 40 years, whatever we decide. But the short and the long of it is, we need to get a hold of the committee or whoever's gonna have a committee. They need to have a point person, put all the paperwork together, which would probably be their architectural firm. If they're gonna go through the USDA, they'd put the information together and work with their architect to fill out the paperwork to get the ball rolling with them. So, short and long of it is, it's basically, the committee now needs to move that project, forward. The Senator Tarr stated that, you know, all the people we met would be willing to come in and have a meeting here at Town Hall one night with us, or whatever, we put a meeting together. But right now, it's too premature until we get a little bit more of the ball rolling. We need the plan done, which we voted at town meeting, and, get some numbers together, and then we can keep that ball rolling.
Yeah, we need kind of an outline for them to be able to move forward and then
Right.
start the application process, if that's one of the avenues they want to take for possible funding.
Any idea how that's progressing,
I think they have several responses from their RFQ, and I think that's set to close in September.
Yeah, so the RFQ is currently out at the market. Bids are due back on the 20th of September.
Okay.
As of today, I've issued 34 RFQ packages out.
Oh, really?
So it is, yes. And actually, funny story, I had an email in the midst of our email issues last week from Chile, the University of Chile, and I actually thought it was spam and disregarded it. And they called me today looking for the bid package because they're very interested. And I told her that I thought it was spam. I mean, it was partially in Spanish, and she's like, "No, we're at the university, and we're very interested in obtaining that." So we have sent
they
them
gonna
all the
do
way
it
to Chile,
remotely?
our bid packages.
Are they gonna do on-sites or?
I just forwarded it off. I don't know, but yeah, 34 of them as of today.
Well, that's good. So there's multiple
Yeah, I
options.
mean, normally, you know, a lot of people usually solicit the bids. I would estimate about 10 or so.
Yeah.
You know, given what we saw at the high school with their architectural design firm, I mean, they got 6, and that's obviously a huge project with a lot of money at stake. So I think we'd probably be around 10, 12 or so that we'll get back for responses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before you go to
Yeah,
the
go
next
ahead.
one. So, what I was gonna say, Mike, as a chairman, either you or maybe a representative from this board can go to the committee or whoever's handling the plan at this point and kind of relay them, or have them come into a meeting and sit down with them and discuss in a meeting what the next step is, you know, formally have a meeting with them.
With the Council on Aging and with their,
Yeah, so they know what we talked about, because no one, I don't believe anyone on this side has talked to them on our findings yet, or?
we can definitely have them
Make it
come
an
in.
agenda item, like-
But yeah, I don't anticipate that being very long, other than just an update, other than
Right.
what we already went over, but.
Right, right.
Um,
Or if you wanna do it in a letter form, I don't know, it's up to the board, but this way here, at least they know they can't get grants, and it's gonna be a loan, and they need it, even with a loan, they gotta get the, all the information put together to submit it.
yeah, and I think,
Denise?
the conversation, go ahead.
That's okay.
No, go ahead.
So they are aware that they don't qualify for many grants right now, but there are things they can qualify for or potentially qualify for. Unfortunately, none of that can be done until they have their design
Right.
study. So
Right.
once they have that, they will start pursuing other options and other financing methods if there is anything that we might be in the pipeline for. So
Yeah.
you could certainly have that conversation with them, but it might be a little premature until we get a
Yeah,
little
even-
closer
So
to
then,
the bid
so maybe we
docs.
can just send them a letter and say that,
Or they could just watch this recording.
Yeah, I did,
Right, well,
I
not
did speak
everyone
with
watches.
Anita today, and I actually spoke with John Osborne as well.
Okay, then that's
and sort
all.
of let them know a little bit about.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
they
it doesn't
were
have to
aware
be
that
a,
there's no
a
grants.
finalized formal document with their assessment and study. It does have to have some kind of structure and an outline so they can figure out what it's gonna cost, what it's gonna look like, you know, who the point people are gonna be. They can reach out to, I think his name is Lyndon, to start the application process, which is gonna take a few months. So, there's still plenty of time for the, contract to be awarded and then some work to be done, and then they can start the process. But if there's any questions, you can certainly reach out to Denise or myself or to Bill. Other than that, other than what we already talked about, that's pretty much all we have to relay at this point. Good? Yeah. The other thing I had is, the other topic we met with Senator Tar and Representative Mira about was the downtown project. We had people from the Mass Audubon Society, the trustees group, and also the Essex County Greenbelt Society kind of give us some information and some guidance on what might be available to us for programs or grants or funding, whatever there is. So there's a couple things that they suggested that we do. One was to create a committee. I know, Mike, you had emailed us asking about that. I wanted to make sure that that's what the state would like us to see. So a couple of things that I'll just kind of rattle through. To create a committee, that way there's a point group or a point person for the Audubon, the trustees, and the Greenbelt people to work with. Find out what CPA can put towards the project. Has anything been done with CPA money towards that project already? Get an appraisal and market assessment. And then there was some research that they asked about for when the bridge was taken and the funds were given to the landowner as part of the amount of devaluing that land from taking that kind of corner section of the lot. And then also what the parking agreement was with the insurance company and the curb cut. You know, was there actually any documents that came out of that that we can reference back to, or was it all verbal? So there's a little bit of things that need to be done, but they're definitely eager to work with us. I think it'd be helpful if someone wanted to take point on this from the board and then report back to the board. You know, they could work with the CPA group, with this committee that we charted to go forward with. I don't know, Lisa, if that's something that you'd be interested in taking point on?
I'm willing to, if you'd like me to.
Well,
I mean, I'm willing to, I just,
okay.
I don't know if other people are interested, I'm certainly willing to do it.
I don't think we can vote on that now, but we can make that an agenda item, right? So we'd figure out, I don't know how we charter them, define their charter for a committee.
Yeah, well, I think that's been discussed before on what the prior bridge committee was responsible
Mhm.
for versus, I don't know that we ever got any information that was what that is for. So I think this, you know, maybe at the next meeting, you all can talk about what you'd like this committee to do. And some of that would be what you just mentioned, research to see if there was any formal. I know Senator Tar mentioned, the taking should be filed at, the registry on what money transpired
Mhm.
and what, property was taken, and sort of the change in value of that property. I know he mentioned that, so some research, that whole parking issue and the curb cut, like you said, if there is anything formal. And then, that group that we met with is interested in doing a site visit once we have the committee formed, and, so I think sort of all those things that you could put in a charge of this committee.
Okay.
And then, you know, report back to the board as they progress on what's available to the town
Okay.
through the state. and
So
everywhere.
let's try and put that on an agenda item as well for the next one. And then at that time, we can vote to appoint either Lisa or some other board member that wants to take point on that. I don't want to take point on it, so.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Were there meeting minutes taken, so like what you just outlined as some of the issues, did they take meeting minutes that kind of outline those things, do you know?
We all took our own kind of minutes. There wasn't a recorder there,
Okay,
so I can share with you.
I don't need it right now.
No, I
just
mean, I
where
can, yeah,
You named a long list of things and I won't remember all that.
yeah, no, I can either type it up or just give you a copy of what I took for notes and what Denise took for notes.
Okay.
But I think that was pretty much all of it.
Yeah, and I can tell you just, Mike, just because you call them the trustees. It's the Trust for Public Land was the third organization we met with. So it was the Trust for Public Land, Mass Audubon, and Essex Greenbelt.
Mhm.
And it was Chris, who's been here several times before the board for Essex Greenbelt, who was in that meeting, as well as
Audubon.
Senator Tarr, Representative Mira, and then there was another woman who came in at the end that I honestly don't know what she
Agricultural.
represented.
Yeah,
The agriculture.
Oh, agriculture.
Yeah.
And the guy from the USDA was there too.
that was
He
the first
left
meeting.
for the
Oh, he
Yeah, he
second
left for the second meeting.
But yeah, I didn't know who she
The
represented.
short and the long of it, again, the way I took out of it is you gotta have a committee to move the thing forward. You
Yeah.
gotta have a committee that's gonna handle it. And Senator Tarr, you know, he basically said this has been before him a few different times. And, you know, he had all the people there and they're willing to come out and talk to us. It's just that we, at this point, we need to go back to him with a formal committee, group, or something that's gonna head it up with, like you were saying, land values, all the information.
All the documentation that happened in the past.
Right.
That's gonna be the big thing, is finding all the
And then he
documentation.
can put the right people in charge that he thinks that would help.
Just a question on that, was, in the meeting, was it discussed, the money, when he, when the senator was here and spoke with us, said that money had been put in the budget,
He said up to 500,000 might be available.
yeah, is it still in there?
Yeah,
That-
he said it's in a bond bill that they can request it from, so it's in there as long as it's funded and they approve it, but he said, I don't think he said it at this meeting, but he said at the last meeting that it takes several months to petition to get that released if that's the course, but yes, there is still money in this bond bill for this process, for this project.
Have we got an appraisal on the property?
No, that's part of the list of things that committee would
We
have to
have-
do.
we
Oh,
have
you do
a
have one? A recent one?
It's out of date.
Oh. When was it, do you know?
Oh, it was 2005, I think.
All right, so yeah, then.
What was it at that time, Mike?
510, I think.
Yes,
That was before the state took that land.
Right. And the state paid some kind of money towards the owner for eminent domain and
Yes.
diminishing the value and the property size, so.
yes, and that's one of the things Senator Tarr mentioned, is we should look at what has changed in value from when the state did their taking.
Right.
He also had mentioned that, you know, when Mike was talking to him, and what have you, he can be creative, maybe get the state to kick back some, tax relief toward the owner and that kind of stuff. He can be
Yes.
creative down the road.
Yeah, there's definitely options, but I think, having a committee,
That's what.
first, having a point person from the Board of Selectmen, interact with that committee, and then report back to the board on the continual process of what's happening. And then getting some of that background information about the curbing, the parking lot size, the number of spots that was gonna be issued to the insurance company, what money transferred when they did eminent domain by taking part of the corner for the bridge. All that information will come into us, kind of an assessment on what the value of the land is now worth, from a town's perspective or a state perspective, and then how to work with the owner, if possible, to purchase it, and what type of project would the town like to have in that area. So, I know that, with the Council on Aging and the Senior Center, that's kind of Bill's thing that he would like to head up, which is perfectly fine by me. And I think Lisa's would like to be the point person on the downtown piece of land down there, which is perfectly fine by me. As long as the board agrees with it, then, we'll vote and,
Can I just comment on that?
Yep.
So what I view that role is more of a liaison.
Yes.
It's not spearheading, it's more of being a
Yes.
communication piece.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And I would say, something that the board can think about is if you would like Lisa or a member of the board to actually serve on that committee as an appointed role, to have a voting seat at the table. So
Okay.
that's something you could put into your conversation at the next meeting.
Okay.
Just a follow-up
Yep.
on that, at our last meeting, it was brought up that a realtor had been in inquiring about the property. Have you heard any more about that? And then, the other question, what can it be used for?
So,
I think
that
mu-
came up as well. And I think from what we talked about, there's not a lot given the proximity to the river. One of the things Senator Tarr did say is it actually discounts some of the intended use or possible use with the state funds as putting access to the waterway, because it's so close to the town dock here and the the boat launch,
Yeah.
that the state probably wouldn't give us any funding to make an additional access, that close to this one. So he said that would probably be off the table, but given our bylaws and, the restrictions with the river, I don't think there's much, in my opinion, that could be done, but.
One of the person was interested in because of the embankment, and they were saying that, was it the wildlife, someone from the wild, that maybe something could be done, then they raised the question, like you just said.
Too
that
steep or something.
It's too steep, and then he said, well, how close is the nearest boat ramp? And then he's like, well, I think I'd be out of it at that point.
Yeah.
The water wouldn't be, we couldn't use it for any kind of funding that way.
That's, yeah, for funding. I mean, the town could essentially vote to put whatever they want in there, right? I mean, it's not limited by a restaurant or a business or a park or.
Probably the existing structure. I don't think you could change the structure because.
Right, well, it would have to go through
200
zoning,
feet.
and
Right.
there'd have to be variances if you wanted something out of
Right.
the.
Well, you got a restriction from the water. No.
Yeah, almost the entire site is within the 100-foot buffer of the river,
Mhm.
but the entire site is within 200 feet of the river. So that building there is, unless you were gonna use it without any exterior alterations, you wouldn't allow it, wouldn't allow it to be teared down and rebuilt or anything like that. So it works out good that if the town bought it, to use it for something as part of the square, like combination parking lot and park,
Mhm.
or, some riverfront thing, because if we just made it only for a parking lot, that you wouldn't be able to put CPA funds towards it, but if you had partially it was a park, you'd be able to at least
Like
put
a
some CPA.
Grass area with a gazebo or something like that.
Yeah, right.
One of the ladies in the meeting was saying that the state is now on a website of all their farm stands, and I said, well, there's not many farmers in this area, in our area, and she said, no, people from all over the state, if you have an area, they'll go to. And
Like
she
a
was
farmer's
saying
market.
Yeah.
farmers market, I
Yeah.
said, well, I thought it was only for local people, and she said, no, you
No.
wouldn't be surprised,
Yeah.
people from all over will go there, because they wanna get their name out and what have you, so.
They mentioned
was
something
saying-
else about undeveloping an area. There was one of the guy, I don't remember the guy, but he said something about there's a term and a push to undevelop something, so where it's developed down there to kind of revert it back to its more natural state rather than,
Like a brownfield site.
almost, yeah, where there's maybe grants or funding that's available for undeveloping an area rather than,
Right,
grants
to
or
put
funding.
it back into a natural state, a
Right.
tree farm type thing, and I think he was from was it the wildlife or something like that, he was?
No, I thought he was from that,
He might be the trust of
Trust-
public
yeah,
land.
the
Yeah,
trust-
that's it,
yeah.
that's exactly, you're right,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
so there's options, there's all kinds of avenues to take, but the first step is to get the committee, get some point people, get someone to be a liaison or a voting member on that, from this board, and then they can start working towards that to, work with the state and, the other societies that, may have some ideas of what, they can put towards it. And that's all I had. I think that's everybody, right?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay, any questions? No? Moving on to correspondence, we have the minutes from July 10th, 2017. We have the fire department July 1st appointments. We have an email for volunteer of the month nomination. A letter from Chief Lay to the Georgetown Fire Chief.
May I just comment on that one?
Yep.
So, as you know, Georgetown was providing mutual aid while we did not have a ladder truck. So this was a letter from the chief to the fire chief. I know at one point this board mentioned, Bill, it was really you who
Yep.
mentioned you would like to extend your thanks as
Right.
well. If that's something the board would like, I can certainly draft something
I
from the
definitely
board.
would.
Yes,
Thanking Georgetown as well for their assistance and support during that time.
please. Is that it?
Under
Good,
that
yeah,
item, yes.
okay. And then we have a letter from the Board of Library Trustees regarding a sign for the library. We'll probably put that as an agenda item for the next meeting. And now we are moving on to Finance Director's time.
Give me one quick second to just finish.
Sure.
I'm just gonna comment also on the, fire department appointments. So just as you know, the fire chief, as the strong chief, makes all appointments. So that's just, for your reference. At your next meeting, he did give me today, we've been looking at the pay scales for the fire department. Currently, there is actually no rhyme or reason how the fire department's salaries were set. So he put together a formula to differentiate between firefighters, lieutenants, captains, deputies, et cetera, so that at least there's a standard percentage differential, because right now, some are like 8.5%, some are 12%. There's literally no easy way to calculate the rates. So him and I spoke, he put something together, so that will be on your next agenda. That is something, because it is salaries, affects this board, and you will have to vote on that. But you do not vote on the appointment, so just, I will have that for you at the next meeting.
Okay.
I just have a few things for you. So the land sale, 894 Salem Street, the former highway air garage, is being advertised this coming Wednesday, July 26th. So that will be in the Central Register and the Tribune this week. The basketball courts at the Pines have been updated with new hoops and nets. We ordered some backboards, but they did not fit with the setup we have, so we have to tweak those a little bit. But I wanted to thank, actually Bill O'Neill and his son came in and helped me pick out the parts that were needed. And then a huge thanks to Mark and Steve from the Highway Department for installing it last week. Halfway through the installation, it started downpouring on Tuesday, and they were soaking wet trying to get these put up for us. So I just wanted to give them a huge thanks.
Was that the day the monsoon came through?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
And
those
they
poor
were
guys.
drenched. Town planner interviews. So I conducted the preliminary interviews for the town planner candidates. I wanted to speak with this board to find out if you would like a recommendation, or if you would like to interview several candidates for that. I asked Sam to sit in on those interviews, and he and I actually ranked the candidates the same. We interviewed 4 people, so I just wanted to put out to this board to see if you would like to interview multiple people, if you would like to just meet the recommended candidate.
I'm okay with the recommended candidate. Ed, do you have a preference?
Yeah, I think we ought to get, we ought to bring them in for an interview with the Board of Selectmen. It should be just short. Maybe we could go with the top three choices.
Bill, do you have a preference?
No, maybe just have them come in, and, you know, do a brief, not interview, but I mean,
Top 3?
top 3 and say, you know, hi, how you doing, what's your little
Lisa,
background?
do you have a preference?
I don't necessarily have a preference to do the interviews. I would like to see the resumes, and just kind of have those to review, and then kind of take the recommendation of,
Well, let's bring the top 3. That seems to be the most sought-after way to go about it.
So those are public. Do you want that on a regular meeting night?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they're gonna be short.
I guess that's up to this board.
We don't wanna be here
So,
till 11
Are we
o'clock.
looking to do full interviews or just follow-up meetings?
I think the full interviews have already been done by Denise and Sam.
You've already interviewed all of them.
We have
Right.
interviewed all candidates, and then ranked them. I would not give you the ranking if that's how you choose.
Right,
I can
yes.
just give you the 3 candidates.
Yep.
Okay.
And I will certainly give you all the resumes that we received. But I guess it's up to you.
Yeah,
however
give
you
us the
wanna
top
do.
3, but don't tell us who you and Sam chose as your number 1, 2, or 3. And then we'll do kind of a quick meet and greet, quick interview, and then give our recommendation from them as a board.
Now, I have not included the planning board in this process because we wanted to delineate that it's an appointment from the Board of Selectmen. They're not gonna be appointed by the planning board. Would you like me to invite them into that night to take part in this? I know I've heard
Are
some
they gonna have a
rumblings
daily,
that,
are they gonna have a daily say with them on a daily basis, or on a basis with them?
well, they will work with them. They will take direction really from this board, but I've heard some rumblings that they feel excluded from the process.
I think if they're gonna have
but-
some kind of input with them, we should probably,
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want it to be out of hand and, have 15 people asking these applicants questions, so.
Well, you would still control. who
Right,
asks the
no, that's
questions,
fine.
so
So, yeah, I mean, ask them if they can attend the meeting, if it's the next meeting that we have, which I would hope that we try to get this done as soon as possible. So if we can have time on the next meeting to do these kind of quick interviews and meet and greets and have
either in writing, the planning board submits some questions that they would like to answer, or in person, maybe 1-2 point people to ask a couple of questions. I prefer writing, but, you
Right.
know,
I'm wondering if we could, or me, is just have them kind of do a brief little, why they want the job, a little bit of background. I mean, we can't ask the questions, but maybe they could just do a little brief summary when they come in to talk with us, the
No,
candidates.
you all can ask questions.
no, we can
Oh,
ask them
I thought you-
questions. It was
I
at
know,
the
I just
planning
meant-
board.
I thought you,
No, I meant that-
you can't talk dollars or anything.
No, I mean, well, that's all set in the job description that was put out.
No,
But
no,
you can certainly
okay.
ask them questions about their experience and their
Okay.
past and,
Alright.
you know, why they wanna work here. I mean, that's all. I can certainly reach out to the planning board and let them know. How much time would you like me to allot for each candidate?
10 minutes? No? More? Less?
10 minutes? Is that enough?
15 minutes.
I think if
Yeah,
you're
15
asking people
minutes,
to
I
come in, I
agree.
don't think that's really.
All right, so let's do 15 minutes, but I would prefer the planning board to submit questions by paper, so we can kind of cover those. You know, Lisa could ask 2 or 3, Ed could ask 2 or 3, Bill could ask 2 or 3, that kind of thing, rather than asking a bunch of questions on camera for them. I'm
Okay.
happy to address their concerns and their input, it's just in the interest of time and trying to make it move along.
Okay. I will do that. Anita from the Council on Aging came in to see me today about a statement that was made at the last Selectmen's meeting. It was mentioned the possibility of combining a senior center with West Newbury. She wants me to reiterate that there has been no outreach from West Newbury to the Groveland Senior Center Building Committee. There has been no communication between the two boards, and that until that happens, that any comments or hypotheticals on the subject are premature and unfounded. So I told her I would relay that to the board. She feels that they've explored those options, they have explored those types of things, they've been working on this for 2 years. This board is welcome to meet with them, they meet about monthly. So if there's ever any questions, you all can reach out to them or invite them in here to discuss what they've
Love her passion.
taken.
So.
This was the abridged
Yeah,
version, believe
yeah.
me.
So, a little bit of background on that. I know that came up at the last meeting. That actually came up at the State House meeting with the USDA and Senator Tarr and Rep. Mira. Just as a conversation piece, as what if, and I think not only from their point of view, or even mine or Bill's or whoever else was in the meeting, it doesn't really seem feasible from a usage standpoint, at least in my opinion, to have people travel to either West Newbury or from West Newbury to Groveland in order to use the senior center. I don't think it would get the full use as having one in town. That's my opinion. I think it's more important to focus on the activities that the senior center offers the residents in Groveland, rather than trying to coordinate a combo center somewhere between multiple towns. I think it just gets muddy at that point. So it's good to have options. Always should have an option A, B, and C, just in case something falls apart. So keep that in mind. I love her passion, but I realize that she's, wants to get this done, get it moving, so just exploratory, so.
And then just the last thing I have is next Tuesday, August 1st, is National Night Out. Groveland, West Newbury, and Merrimack Police Departments are inviting the communities for the second annual Tri-Town Night Out. It is an evening of food, fun, games, and prizes to be held at Pentucket High School from 5 to 8 p.m. Admission is free. They will have vehicles there to look at and explore. There'll be music, cotton candy, bouncy houses, face painting, games, prizes, and more.
Who's putting that on? What'd you say?
It's the 3 police stations.
Really? Okay.
So I do have it on our website, it is on the message board out front, but I just wanted to announce that as well. So that's all I have to this evening.
All right. Bouncy houses.
Bouncy houses.
Is there a weight limit on the bouncy house? Or an age limit? No? I'm 18, right? Right. All right, anybody, let's see, Lisa, anything for selectmen's time?
No, I don't.
Bill?
Nope.
Ed?
I have nothing.
Right, it's a record meeting. So can we get a motion to adjourn at 7:21?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:21.
Get a second? All those in favor?
All right.
Thank you.